For years, I felt like a passenger in my own life. Ever feel that way? Like you're just getting dragged along, letting things happen to you instead of for you. I was in a constant state of reaction, a puppet pulled by the strings of other people's needs, my boss's demands, and my own knee-jerk emotions. When I looked at my life, all I saw was stagnation. My relationships felt shallow, like I was just playing a role, and my career was stuck in first gear. It was this deeply frustrating, painful cycle of running in place, and I couldn't figure out why. I was doing everything I was supposed to do, but nothing was changing. The quiet dread of waking up in 10 or 20 years filled with regret started getting really, really loud. I was haunted by the what-ifs. What if I'd spoken up? What if I'd taken that risk? This fear of a half-lived life is what finally forced me to look inward. And thankfully, I learned a few essential, hard-won lessons, just-in-time lessons that changed absolutely everything. The first one started with a single, terrifying word: no. The problem, my days were a complete blur of people-pleasing. I'd say yes to projects I had zero bandwidth for, all because I was terrified of disappointing my boss. I'd stay quiet in meetings when I had a perfectly good idea, paralyzed by the fear of looking foolish. In my personal life, I let people cross lines I didn't even know I had, just because I wanted to be the easygoing one. The result, I was burned out, resentful, and totally disconnected from myself. I had no idea what I truly wanted because I'd spent years putting everyone else's wants first. This lack of boundaries wasn't just making me unhappy, it was systematically destroying my self-worth. It tells you, and the world, that your needs just don't matter. And my career? It felt stagnant because I dodged any task that smelled like failure. To me, failure wasn't a learning opportunity. It was a final verdict on my incompetence. So I played it safe. I only did things I knew I could crush, which meant I never, ever grew. I was building a very comfortable, very small cage for myself and then wondering why I felt so trapped. This passivity, this coasting, is a choice even when it doesn't feel like one. The alternative is to make active choices to figure out who you are and what you want. That was the crossroads where I found myself. The turning point, my turning point, wasn't some dramatic movie moment. It was a slow, painful dawning, the realization that the only common denominator in my stalled career and stagnant relationships was, well, me. It was the uncomfortable truth that I was responsible for my own happiness, and I'd been outsourcing that job to literally everyone else. The real aha moment came when I finally understood two core concepts: boundaries and failure. I realized boundaries aren't walls to shut people out. They're the gates you build to let the right things in. They aren't selfish, they're a profound act of self-respect. And I started seeing failure not as an end, but as data. It's just information. Every stumble, every mistake, every rejection wasn't a judgment on my worth. It was a lesson pointing me in a new direction. It's a survival mechanism, really a cautionary tale our minds create to help us make better choices next time. Embracing this was like being handed a map and compass after being lost in the woods for years. It was the beginning of taking back control. Lesson 1. You must set and hold firm boundaries. The first, and maybe the toughest, lesson is that setting boundaries is the ultimate act of self-worth. For years, I thought being a good person, a good employee, a good friend, a good son meant being endlessly available and agreeable. I was dead wrong. Saying yes to everyone costs you your time, your energy, and your self-respect. Boundaries are just you telling the world, I value myself enough to protect my energy and my emotional well-being. I started small. I remember my heart pounding the first time I told a colleague, I can't take that on right now, but I can help you with it next week. That was it. They saw that I valued it, so they did, too. Every time you politely say no to something that drains you, you're reinforcing the message to yourself that you matter. Lesson 2. Reframe failure as your greatest teacher. Our society is obsessed with success and terrified of failure. But that fear is one of the most paralyzing forces in life. It keeps us from taking risks, trying new things, and chasing the life we actually want. The biggest shift in my life came when I stopped seeing failure as a final verdict and started seeing it as a vital part of the process. Think about it. Who succeeds at anything on the first try? There's that famous, and probably paraphrased, quote attributed to Thomas Edison about the light bulb. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. A few years ago, I started a small side project that completely flopped. For a few weeks, I was devastated. The old me would have seen this as proof that I wasn't cut out for entrepreneurship. That failed project taught me more than any business book I'd ever read. While some studies show mixed results, the prevailing wisdom is that failure provides invaluable data and experience. When you see failure as feedback, It loses its power to shame you. It just becomes another tool in your toolbox. Lesson 3. Stop reacting and start responding. There is a huge difference between reacting and responding. A response is thoughtful. A critical email would send me into a defensive spiral. A learning to respond is all about creating a little space between a stimulus and your action. This is where mindfulness, or even just taking one deep breath before you type, can be life-altering. When you respond, you're in control. You can see the situation with more clarity and make choices that align with your long-term values, not just a short-term emotional impulse. This single habit will transform your relationships. It stops you from saying things you'll regret and helps you navigate conflict with grace. It's the shift from being a pawn of your emotions to being the master of them. Lesson 4. You teach people how to treat you. This one can be a tough pill to swallow, but it is so empowering. If you constantly devalue your own time, others will. 2. If you talk down to yourself, you're silently giving others permission to do the same. When you prioritize your well-being, speak to yourself with kindness, and stand up for your needs, you send a powerful signal to the world that you have worth. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about understanding that you are your most valuable asset. When you start treating yourself with the respect you deserve, you'll be amazed at how the world begins to reflect that respect right back to you. Lesson 5. Embrace discomfort as the price of growth. If you want to change your life, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Every new skill, every new relationship, every step up the ladder will require you to step into the unknown. And the unknown is scary. Our brains are wired for survival, which means they prefer what's predictable and safe. Starting a new workout is hard at first. Speaking up in a meeting when you're used to being quiet is terrifying. Setting your first boundary feels incredibly awkward. That feeling of discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's a sign that you are stretching yourself. The fear and awkwardness fade, and you're left with a new, expanded comfort zone. That feeling is the price of admission for a bigger, more fulfilling life. The transformation looking back, the person I used to be is almost a stranger. My career isn't stagnant anymore because I'm not afraid of a challenge. In fact, I actively seek out the tasks that scare me a little because I know that's where growth happens. But I'm no longer haunted by the fear of regret because I know I'm living intentionally. I'm making active choices, and that has made all the difference. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming more you. It's about realizing that your happiness is, and always has been, in your hands. So, I have to ask, which of these lessons hits closest to home for you right now? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe for more content just like this. Also, be sure to check out our other video on Top Relationship Expert Reveals the Secret to Stop Over-Explaining, where we dive deeper into building habits that actually stick. Thanks for watching.